So, Kayla, welcome to the Elevating Resilience podcast. Today we have Kayla Richardson on, a senior at Monmouth University. She plays on the girls' basketball team. So, Kayla, tell us a little about yourself.
I'm Kayla Richardson. I am on the women's basketball team at Monmouth. I'm a senior. I'm a psychology major, and I have a minor in gender studies, and I'm actually a local kid, so we call it on our team. I'm from Red Bank, and I grew up in Monmouth County, so like Monmouth University is basically me staying home, but I love it. So
awesome.
Yeah.
And what did you play at RBR?
I played at Middletown South because I was right on that border of the bridge.
Okay.
So yeah,
I'd call myself a Red Bank kid too.
Yeah, me too. But
absolutely,
yeah,
very cool. All right, and you transferred, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
My junior year of high school, I committed to LaSalle University, which is in Philly. They play in the A10. And I spent my freshman season there. And then in May, I decided to transfer. And one of my assistant coaches from LaSalle actually went to Monmouth. And then I came basically like with her.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the difference between Monmouth and LaSalle?
I think for me, the biggest difference, which is hard, was that my freshman year was COVID year.
Okay.
So like it was a really hard dynamic in the sense of like everything was super strict and like mandated, and like you couldn't really have like a lot of fun. Like, and LaSalle had a rule too, like I couldn't go to my teammates like dorms and stuff. So it was like kind of hard. I think the biggest thing is like at Monmouth, it's really familiar and it feels like home. I grew up here. I grew up watching games here, like the short conference. Girls basketball tournament is played in that arena, where like LaSalle is more like fast paced. It's in Philly. Like you have a bunch of different schools around, where Monmouth is more of like a huge community. So I think that was the biggest difference, and just a lot of support from Monmouth that I didn't have the opportunity to have at LaSalle just because of the distance from home and stuff like that.
And that's super helpful for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And you said you're getting your degree in psychology?
Yeah.
What draws you to that?
I don't know. I mean, I've loved psychology since I was like young. My freshman year of high school, I took an intro to psych class, and then I took abnormal psych and child psych and AP psych in high school. And I was like, wow, I just keep taking psych classes. I wonder why. And like, I'm just so curious as to how like the brain works. And my parents joke around when I was young that I was always asked people questions like, why? I would be like, why? Why? My mom would do something like, why? Or someone would say something like, why? Yeah. And so then that was a route I was like, you know what? Like, I want to know why, like, and why humans do this, and interactions, and what motivates people to do stuff, and how men and women are different and how they think. That's why I got a minor in gender studies and intersectionality, to learn like not only the psychology of people, but how the psychology of people change based on your sex, based on your race, religion, all of those type of things. And so it's actually super interesting to me.
You're making it sound very interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I love psychology. I like the mental health aspect of it. Are you thinking of going into the sports psychology route?
So right now I'm deciding, since I'll be graduating in May, my master's, either going into sports psych or doing more behavioral psych or mental health counseling. I would love to do sports psych if I could stay in that. It's kind of like a growing occupation right now. That's like a lot of teams are starting to make it more of a thing to have a sports psychologist. So I think that'd be something that's cool. But I also really, really like the idea of working like with behavioral disorders and stuff like that. And so, and I had the opportunity over the summer to work at a mental health clinic, and I got to work with children with behavioral issues and create like scripts and stuff for like weekly, like just teaching them how to do like the basics of behavior. And I thought it was really cool too. So we'll see.
That's really cool. Yeah, you love it.
Yeah, I definitely do.
You're just going to keep going, and that's what helps.
Yeah.
Especially in the psychology field, because I think it's like 3 more years of schooling.
Yeah, so I'll do basically like 2 years of a master's, and then like if I want to do sports, like I have to do like a 2-year specialization.
Okay.
But if I do mental health counseling, it's a 2-year master's, and then you do like a year of like residency where you would like work with actual clients and for like 4,000 hours, something like that.
Yeah. I bet you're really good with kids.
Actually, I'm not.
Really?
Yeah, for something about kids like stresses me out.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit. I like working with like teens, middle schoolers, but like young kids.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about young kids. Yeah, I just shut off from them.
Like middle school and up, I'm good with.
School and up.
For sure.
I'm not talking about little kids. I'm only good with my nephew, and I'm not really sure I'm good with him anymore.
I just feel like they're so fragile. I'm like scared to like, I don't know. I just
it's their energy is really, really high.
Yes.
There's no focus. And when I don't have focus, I'm like, So what do you love about being an athlete?
Oh, so many things. I think it's a sense of like family. Like it's like for me, it's a little different because I live close to school. But like even in the simple fact of like, I know that no matter what, I have 15 girls and 5-6 staff members that I could call if something's going on. And being an athlete is such a privilege. Like there's so many doors and opportunities that have been opened for me and to me just for simply being an athlete. And I think it's also so rewarding. Like I don't think people realize like how much you learn being a student athlete and like the lessons you learn on the court, off the court, stuff like that. The support from community and stuff like that. We'll go to like a pizza place down the street and they're like, oh my God, you're on the girls basketball team. And like, they're like, that's so cool. Like just bringing a sense of joy and like entertainment to people is really rewarding. And it's just.
What's the number one lesson that sticks out for you? Sure, there's a lot.
Yeah, I think the number one lesson I would say is that it always gets better. Okay. Would be the biggest thing for me. I've had a really rocky, I would say, college career so far. And so on those bad days, it's something I always remind myself. I also remind myself, I think the biggest thing is like, don't like appreciate your privilege, your blessings. And so like, it's a privilege for me to be on scholarship, for me to be at school and have all these support systems that people don't have. And so I think one of the biggest lessons that I took is that like, it always does get better. Like even on those bad days, like I still am so blessed to have the opportunities that I do. And you know, you can't look at the negatives all the time. It's just it's not healthy. It's going to drain you. And so that's something I've really taken with me. Yeah.
So you can't say rocky start to Ange without me digging a little deeper. All right. So obviously elevating resilience. So give me one story that can define how you have totally been resilient and have learned from that experience.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess my whole story is kind of the story of resilience. My freshman year at LaSalle, I went to the doctors like a week before I had to report to school in the summer. I had an ankle surgery like 2 years prior. My coach was like, oh, just get it checked out. Make sure everything's good before you get to campus. I was like, oh, of course. Like, I have no pain. Just played a senior season. Yeah. Went to the doctor. He was like, you have a bone chipped off in your ankle. I was like, oh, okay. You need immediate surgery. And so I got surgery August 24th, had to move into campus August 28th as a freshman. That was also COVID. I couldn't do anything. I gained a lot of weight, was super just unhappy. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I'm a freshman. I have to fight for a spot. I can't play. Had to navigate that, navigate COVID, navigate, just not being happy with like my physical levels and like my fitness levels and stuff like that. And so that year was really hard. And then making the decision to transfer, a lot of people think it's really easy. Like, oh, like I'm just going to leave. But like that decision is really hard. And a lot of things go into it. So then I left, came to Monmouth, and me being me, I just kind of stressed a little bit, overthink things. And so I was like, oh my God, like I need to lose the weight. I need to be in the best shape of my life. And I overdid it. And I ended up my summer after my freshman year going into Monmouth, I ended up in like September being diagnosed with like an eating disorder that year, just because I was so like, oh my God, like this is my chance. Like I need to get back from my injury, like just overdoing it. Okay. I think that's something that a lot of athletes do. It's like we overdo it. And it's like, not that middle ground. And so
all in.
Yeah, that was something I kind of had to navigate. And it was really hard for me to open up to that and like admit to that. Cause like coach is like, oh, like Kayla, like you look good, but like you're losing a lot of weight really quickly. Yeah. And like even my trainers were like, like we would go places, I wouldn't eat anything. Everyone's like, oh, what's going on? Like, and I was like, no, I'm fine. Like I was, and it's hard because like you're validated. Like everyone's like, oh my God, you look great. Like you're all my old teammates, like you're losing weight. And I'm like, yes. And then I would be like after practice, like about to pass out. And I'm like, and it took me telling my mom like 2 years after the fact of like, oh, this is what really went on. And then my head coach, Virginia Bogus, she was amazing. Like she was like, we have a sports psychologist, like go see Lynn. Like if you need to miss practice, if you need to leave practice early, like go see her. And that was the best thing that's ever happened for me, at least, was like having the vulnerability to be like, like I probably need to talk to somebody. And so then I was doing well. And then that was going into my sophomore season. My sophomore season in December, I noticed something in my shoulder was bothering me. I was like, what's going on? Like something doesn't feel right. Like I was having issues grabbing stuff from cabinets. So I went to my trainer. I'm like, something's going on. And they were like, okay, let's sit out for a week or two. Let's go see a doctor, see what's going on. I ended up having a labrum tear and a grade 4 AC joint separation. And he was like, yeah, so it requires surgery, but if you want, you can finish the season and we'll do it after. I was like, of course. Like, I'm just going to pain manage. We're going to finish the season. I was having probably the best season of my life that year.
With the labrum tear, with the separated AC.
Yeah, like 10 games in, I was like, all right, I'm just going to rehab. Sat out for a couple games. Probably from like January-ish until like mid-January till like February. February 3rd, I'm so excited. Coach is like, all right, you're back. Like February 3rd at Siena, you're going to play. Cleared to go, wear a brace. Came in 9 minutes into the game. I go to drive, go to pass the ball. I go down. My knee feels weird. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Like my knee feels kind of weird. Got up, didn't play the rest of the game, but walked out. V's like, my trainer was like, oh, are you okay? And I'm like, I feel fine. Like, whatever. We rehab for like 2 weeks. Then we play St. Peter's. Like, I'm supposed to play that game too. Cleared from my knee and all that type of stuff. The day before St. Peter's, I'm dribbling between my legs. My knee gives. Like, just completely gives out. I'm like, okay, something is wrong. Again, I'm really not in that much pain, and it doesn't feel like pain at all. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'm just like, I don't know, like maybe my quads are tight. So I see the same doctor for my shoulder, Dr. Torpy, and I'm like, oh, like, let's get an MRI. We get an MRI. I go in. I tell V, I literally look at her. I remember this moment so vividly. I look at her and I was like, I swear if I tore my ACL, like I will be devastated. Like it cannot be my ACL. Oh. And V's like, no, it's okay. Like it's not. Like, and we all thought the same thing. I went in. He says, so you completely tore your ACL and you tore your meniscus. And I just remember that feeling of like, no, girl. Like I worked so hard with my shoulder, with my ankle to like, for that moment to like, it honestly felt crushing. But everyone's like, oh, like, you know, and I took some time to process. Like that, I think that's the biggest thing that people don't realize. Like some of my teammates didn't know for like a week. Like I was like, I need my own space to like process and wrap my mind around it. But then I had like a really long heart-to-heart conversation with my mother, who was a Marine. Both my parents were Marines. So that's like resilience and discipline is a huge thing in my household. And I was like, Mom, I don't think I can do this. And like, it was really hard for me to say that. And she's like, yes, you can. Like I raised you to be a really strong person. And like, you have a support system. You've done it before. Like, this is going to be your best comeback ever. And I was like, do you think so? And she's like,
just motivated me.
Yeah. She's like, do you think so? I was like, you think so? Like, I'm excited. I'm like, really? Like, you think so? And she's like, yeah. And so that year I ended up coming back. I had surgery in March.
Did you have surgery on your shoulder and your knee?
No. So that was the huge also like conversation of like, do I just do both at the same time? But they're on the same side of my body and they're both around like an 8-9 month recovery. And so like in my head I was like, I didn't want one to affect the other. Like, oh, I can do this in knee rehab, but now I can't because of my shoulder. And my knee was immediate. Like I had to get it done in order to play. My shoulder is something I can still just like pain manage. So I got the surgery done in March, and then I was cleared in January the following season. And I was like, that was also something I had to navigate of, you know, do I come back or do I redshirt?
This was last year, your junior year? Okay.
I was like, do I redshirt? Do I come back? Like, I only have a month left of the season. Like, is it worth it? And it was really hard for me to like look myself in the mirror and have that conversation of like, I'm not ready. And like, probably the hardest thing I've ever had to admit was like, after 9-10 months of rehab, that I'm not ready. Like, I'm really not mentally, physically ready to step on a court and play for a month. Like, I just, and that year, honestly, probably was the biggest blessing in disguise for me because I also learned that coaching is something I'm super passionate about, and being a coach, and hopefully later on in life becoming a basketball coach and doing all those things, because I got the opportunity to basically coach and my head coach, Coach B, and my assistant coaches, like they gave me those opportunities. Like I was allowed to sit on the top of the bench and help with plays and help with scouts and got to talk to my teammates when they came off the floor. Like I really got to use that year to like be a great leader and like use my vocal presence instead of my physical presence. And that whole path like has taught me just so much. Like it taught me that I'm such a strong person and stronger than a lot of people think, and like stronger than I thought. Like it really taught me that like there's always a different direction you can look at. Like instead of me sitting there and being sad and like, oh, I can't play, I'm just going to be a horrible teammate. Like it's a choice. Like you have to choose the direction that you go in. And I couldn't help that I tore my ACL. It wasn't anyone's fault, not my fault, not coach's fault, not the girl I was playing, no one's fault. Like it happens and I can't change it, but I have a choice on how I react and my response, and I can change my mindset. And that year I really had to. And it wasn't perfect. Like there's obviously days where it was like, I'm so sad, I want to be on the floor. But I owed it to my teammates who were there for me the day after surgery, the day of surgery, calling me, driving me places, going to get me food when I couldn't walk. Like I owed it to them to like help them be successful. And we ended up having a very successful year. So
And so this is your first season, your full season, and you're still playing with the labrum tear. Okay, I'm sure you're rehabbing that and keep it strong or whatever. And how is this season going? Is it just a culmination of just this resilience and blessing?
And this season has also already taught me so much. this season hasn't been what I've expected.
Okay.
And I think that's also something that us athletes tend to do, is that we expect so much from ourselves, and we don't give ourselves like a space or leniency to, you know, fail or have bad days. And so, you know, obviously me, I'm like, okay, I haven't played in 3 years. Like, this is going to be my year. Yeah. And it hasn't. And that's okay. Like, that's really okay. And I've accepted that, and in such a positive way. Like, you know, it's hard to come back from as many injuries as I've had. And for me, it's like, I'm still here. Like, I'm still doing it. Like, I'm still going to practice every day. I'm still competing. I'm still walking on 2 legs, like, at this point. And so it might not be exactly what I wanted it to be and how I scripted it, but that's also the fun of being an athlete. It's never goes as planned. Nope. And it's really, we have a thing that we say in our, at Monmouth, as part of our culture. It's called like, we have nest time or whatever, and the N stands for navigate, and we always say, like, what's important now? And like, for me, like, what's important now is just feeling like my best self. Do I go to practice every day and give everything I have? Do I go to rehab and give everything I have? Does my body feel good? Am I being a good teammate? Am I excited for my future? Am I handling stuff off the court academically to prepare myself for the future? And so I think that's been a huge thing for me this year. It's just navigating the ups and downs and recovery, because not only was I cleared last year, but that doesn't mean like I'm back. Yeah. Like, it takes time. And that's what people, like, I think sometimes forget as an athlete. Like, we don't give ourselves that space.
You don't think you do, because you only, I mean, honestly, you have an all-in mentality. That's what we have. So to take a step back and recover and refresh and refocus is really hard for an athlete, but it's necessary. Yes. Because you're going to have to do it for the rest of your life. Yeah. Like, and that space is what you need. So you'll have again next year, because you had the redshirt year.
I'll have 2. I have a COVID year and a redshirt year.
Okay. Yeah. I love this. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. So you do have. Yeah. And it's important that you said that about the expectation, because it's like, this is my year. This is it. And then it's like, lower those expectations and just be. I just had Dante say, be where your feet are. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
It's a big thing we say too on our team. Like, that's a big saying where I was like, be where your feet are. Yeah. And control the controllables. Yes. Like, I can only control me and my reactions and my mood and my energy. Like, my team is huge on energy of, like, we always say juice, which is like jacked up, insane, contagious energy. And like, your energy is always contagious. Whether negative, if you're not bringing positive energy that's contagious, you're bringing negative energy that's contagious. And that's also a choice that you have to make every day. And not every day's gonna be perfect, but you have to constantly make that choice. Yeah. And I think that's also taught me a lot about life. Like, there's always going to be choices that I can make. Like, there's always a choice. And it's just the direction and mindset that I have to shift to make the right choice.
Yeah. Do you guys, as teammates, hold each other accountable to be juiced? Do you, if somebody's coming in with that negativity, are you close enough to be like, hey, you know what? Like, let's go. Are you comfortable having those hard conversations amongst each other?
I think we're learning to.
You're learning
to. And that's something that we've really, the last few weeks and during like nest time and team meetings, that we've really talked about is like having the love enough for each other to want to see each of us be our best selves. Okay. Because people, I think, when you're like, oh, I'm gonna hold this person accountable, like, hey, like, your energy's off today, like, you need to bring it. Yeah. Is like, oh no, this person's coming at me or whatever the case may be. But like, how we reword it at Monmouth is like, I love you enough to make you your best self. Yeah. Like, I love you enough to be honest with you and not let you, you know, bring yourself down and bring the team down. And so we're really working on that accountability. You know, we're still a very new team. We have 8 new players and 8 returners. So it's still like, we have 5 freshmen. I'm coming back. I haven't played in seasons. We have 3 transfers. So it's like a lot of new people and a lot of new pieces. And I think we're all learning, and we do a really good job of having conversations in our locker room of like, how do you respond and what do you respond to? Yeah. Because, you know, everyone's different. Like, I'm not one of those people who like I have energy, but my energy is different than some of my teammates. Like, I'm not like a, whoa, I'm going to scream and yell, but I'm just like a good pass. I'm like, oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Like, you know, and then when I'm like having a bad day, I just need like a pat on the back. Like, you're good. And that's all I need. And other people need more and other people need less. So I think also respecting that and learning that about each other can go a long way.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And that you're taking the time to do it. Yeah. Because that's what's changed your culture at Monmouth.
For sure.
Like, when we had your coach on here, I was just so insanely impressed by the things that she was saying and hearing you repeat them so confidently and so bought in passionately. That is just really cool to hear.
Yeah. And she's really good at, like, for her, like, the most important thing is our culture, because she also emphasizes that our culture will take you places in life. Like, we have, like I said, navigate. Like, you're always gonna have to navigate obstacles in life, and like, what's important now. And then we have energize, you know, jacked up, insane, contagious energy, and we have iron sharpens iron, which is always the case too. You always want to put yourself in situations where you're with people who are making you better, and you guys are continually to like grow and build on each other. And then trust is the last thing, that you have to trust each other. And that's a huge thing when you're on a team, especially a team like a team sport like basketball. Like you got to have that trust on and off the court for your process, your teammates, your coaches, all of that. And so she does a really good job of making sure like the culture is known, and that I'm not going to bring anyone in who doesn't support our culture, and I'm going to hold you accountable to especially our seniors, to like push that culture forward and teach everyone else. Because without culture and without a discipline and without like your core values, like a team is nothing. No,
you don't. And what's really cool is, and I hope people listening, athletes, coaches, parents listening to this conversation, is you didn't go into anything about performance. You went completely into this direction that is lighting you up completely when you talk. And that's the experience you're getting, which every athlete deserves.
Right.
And that's what like the big thing with All In is, to make sure that we're doing that for every athlete, that every team is blessed with a coach like you have. And every team is blessed with teammates like you have, and blessed with a Kayla. Like this is like, that story blows my mind with injury. Like, I mean, right off the bat, like the top 5 stressors of athletes is coming back from injury, is the transfer process, right? Is taking time to step away and look outside looking in almost, even though you're inside it, like, you know,
definitely.
you're looking in. The 4th thing is mindset, changing it, making a decision not to blame. And then the fifth thing is like staying in the moment to learn what needs to be learned, so what you can do with the rest of your life. And it's cool that like you're getting it every step of the way, which is great to change the culture in athletics as a whole. Definitely,
for sure.
You know, so I guess, what's one piece of advice that you would give like a young athlete?
I would say love and live in your process. And I would just I would tell them to relax. Just to slow down. Especially in today's athletics world, I think everything happens so fast, and everyone wants it to happen so fast. And one of the biggest things that I struggle with, and that I would give also advice to younger, is don't compare yourself. Don't compare your story. Don't compare your process. Don't compare how you look. Don't compare your skill set. None of that. It's not worth it. You know, you're always going to find, as humans, being a psych major too, as humans, we're always going to like be overconfident and like, this person's better. You're always going to find the things that they're better at. You're never going to let yourself be like, but I'm better at this. And so comparing yourself is just not, it's just going to be mentally just not great. And so I would think like, as a young athlete, something that I wish I would have done is just had fun and slow down. Because the more fun you have with it, the more you want to go to practice, the more you want to learn. And a big part of being an athlete is also like learning your craft, learning what you like, learning what you're good at, learning what system works for you, learning the game. And I think sometimes we stray away from that now. And so I think, you know, the more fun you have and the more relaxed you can be, will honestly make you a better athlete in general. And, you know, like find other hobbies. And, you know, I think for me, when I was younger, like I used to always say, I'm a basketball player. And my mom's like, no, you're a person. You are Kayla. And I'm not a basketball player. That basketball does not define me. And I think that's something too, like a lot of young athletes struggle with, is like, their sport defines them. And that can't be the case, because when you're going to have a bad day, you're going to have maybe a bad week, a bad season, a bad game, a bad practice, whatever it is. And you can't let that now affect your relationships, or affect your schoolwork, affect your friendships, affect whatever else you have to do for the rest of the day. And so it's also finding those other identities. And that's what something I always pride myself on and tell any young athlete who asks, is like, find your other identities too. Like I am a basketball player, but I'm Kayla Richardson is me. And I'm also a psych major, and I'm also a girlfriend. I'm also a daughter. I'm also a friend. I'm also a cousin. I'm also all of these other things that can also define me as a whole. And so I would just say to younger athletes, like, slow down. Like, don't make it as big as it is. And I know that's hard in the moment. I know that's really hard. But, you know, when you get to college, it is a lot of your life. It's 90% of what you do. And so wait till then. Like, don't like, everyone's so excited to go to college, and college is great, but also enjoy having no responsibilities and being young and learning yourself and all of those different fun things that come with being a younger athlete who's just starting out.
Yeah, it's such great advice. Yeah. So what's one word to define Kayla?
Probably outgoing.
Outgoing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love talking. I love people.
I'm
Yeah.
fascinated. I am going to make so many reels out of this that it's going to be one
Yeah.
big reel. I love it. And one of my favorite words in the whole world is grit.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what your perspective is on grit, because I can't wait to hear.
I think grit is the ability to show up the same every day.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can't let other things affect how hard you work, what you do, stuff like that. I think it's honestly showing up every day, because sometimes that's even the hardest part, is just showing up, and not only showing up, but also performing, and performing not in the sense of being successful, because you can perform and fail and still be successful in my eyes. Like if I got better today, but I missed 100 shots, but I perfected a new move, that's fine. Yes. And so I think the ability to, continue to push and not let naysayers, not let other external forces like really determine your mindset and your goals for that day, your goals for that season, I think is like how I would define grit.
Love it. Kayla, this was such a pleasure. You're gonna brighten up a young athlete's life with your advice. Your teammates are gonna be so proud. Your coaches. We're so excited to see what the future holds for you. And thank you for helping us change the athletic culture.
Of course.
Awesome. Good luck.
Thank you.
Awesome.